A truly unprecedented year in American history.
Trump is the winner of the Republican presidential primary.
A change at the top, lending his support to Kamala Harris.
One of the most exciting races in the country.
It's all
trying to figure out how to reach voters.
Led
It's going to be a very busy night.
To this moment.
The voters, they will tell you something else.
Get North Carolinians to the polls.
The eyes of the country are watching.
This is Election Night 2024 on Queen City News, your local election headquarters.
And good evening to you. Thanks for joining us on Queen City News on this historic election night. I'm Brian Blakely.
And I'm Khalif Froze. After a long election season, tonight is the night we'll find out which candidates will declare victory in critical national and local races.
And Queen City News will bring you the results live on air over the next several hours as they come into the newsroom. And the polls just closed in South Carolina at 7 p.m. North Carolina voters still have a little bit of time to cast their ballots before polls close in the state at 7:30, and then the two precincts will stay open an extra 30 minutes due to some technical issues. That would be Pilot Mountain Precinct in Burke County. That's going to stay open until 8. And then so will the Gardner Schools Precinct in Wilson County. Anyone in line at their assigned polling place will still be able to vote as long as they are there before the polls close. That also includes Appalachian State, where they said they have some problems up there as well with a lot of people in line.
Voters are casting their ballots in several races, including the most important race tonight. That's the race for the White House. I mean, this race, we only got 2 states so far. You're seeing that. What is that, Indiana and Kentucky right now? This is the race for 270. This is what we're trying to get to. And so as the results roll in, slowly but surely tonight, as polls start to close, Georgia, 7 o'clock, North Carolina, 7:30, we'll start to see those numbers increase throughout the night.
Yeah, critical swing states like North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, that blue wall with Wisconsin. We're going to have to follow all those for sure.
And as we closely watch the presidential race, Queen City News also has crews spread out across the Carolinas. We're covering this election results with 8 crews at locations and watch parties from the State House to the Queen City.
And we got anchors Jason Harper and Morgan Francis that are here with us. Jason, breaking down how the results in North Carolina will play a major role in who wins the White House. And Morgan, you're keeping track of the results of the key races in the critical swing states that we just talked about, how they could impact the balance of power in Washington.
And now to one of the most closely watched. It's the gubernatorial race in the nation is watching North Carolina. Tonight, we'll find out which one of them will take Roy Cooper's seat as the next governor of the Tar Heels.
Yeah, you got Josh Stein for the Democratic side, the Attorney General Mark Robinson, the Lieutenant Governor, who's on the Republican side. And this one has not been a close race so far because we have seen a lot of problems and issues with Mark Robinson over the campaign, and he has been down double digits trying to make inroads back here as we go into Election Day. Queen City News Chief Political Correspondent Andy Weber is in Raleigh tonight at the Josh Stein watch party.
Andy, what's the feeling like in the room right now?
Well, right now, guys, it's pretty quiet. We still have half an hour until the party begins here in Raleigh, where Josh Stein will appear. Brian, as you mentioned, it's been sort of a wide margin in this race for the past few weeks and months. Just most recently, WRAL had a poll out that said Josh Stein led his opponent, Mark Robinson, by at least 15 percentage points. Josh Stein was asked about that this morning while at a stop in Raleigh. He said he's not taking anything for granted. Josh Stein has spent a lot of time in politics. He, in many ways, embodies the career of a politician. He began as an intern in the state legislature before moving on in a role with John Edwards, the former senator from North Carolina, eventually becoming his deputy chief of staff. In 2001, he became deputy AG and has now risen to attorney general here in Raleigh and will be running for governor. We'll have to see how the results come out tonight. Reporting live in Raleigh, I'm Andy Weber, Queen City News. Back to you.
Thanks, Andy. We continue our coverage on the governor's race with Queen City News reporter Daniel Pierce. He's live at Mark Robinson's watch party in Raleigh.
And Daniel, is things picking up there? What are you seeing right now?
Yeah, in fact, we do know that there are people here to hear what the lieutenant governor has to say whenever it comes to whether it be a victory, more than likely a concession speech. That's something that his campaign is putting into perspective. But all those individuals are currently outside right now, gathering, talking, waiting until potentially he gets here so that way they come into this room. Now, we had a chance to speak with his campaign spokesperson about an hour and a half ago, and he was trying to put things into perspective that, hey, look, we are going into this with hope, with faith, but with that optimism that they have, they also say that the lieutenant governor is a reasonable man and can kind of essentially see the writing on the wall whenever it comes to the turnout, as well as the results that could be coming in here at any moment. Now, I do want to note the fact that they tweeted something out about 30 minutes ago. This is from his campaign spokesperson that says some precinct captains in North Carolina are reporting as many as 250 people still in line as of 6:30. Do not get out of line. If you were in line at 7:30, you are eligible to vote. The lieutenant governor also saying stay in line, cast your ballot. So right now there is a lot of focus for them to try and get the rural voters out, whether it be Western North Carolina or a lot of the rural towns that they have really been trying to target to get those undecided, right-leaning independent voters to potentially cause a major upset for the Democratic Party here in Raleigh. Of course, we're going to be here. We're going to monitor everything. We'll keep you updated every half hour here in Raleigh. Brian, Khalif?
Yeah, Daniel, there's certainly a lot of ground to make up for him. Thanks. And Khalif, you know, they're setting the expectation there already, kind of with talking about some sort of a concession speech early here.
They are setting the ground. I mean, they've looked at the numbers before tonight, and so obviously you want to work on 2 speeches, but they've talked about that speech right now, and that's interesting that Daniel brought that up this early in the night.
Early in the night.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Another race that we're...
You got to work on 2 speeches in one night, too.
Another race that we're closely watching is the battle for the Attorney General seat. It's with Josh Stein running for governor. It's opened up this seat for, we're talking about 2 Charlotte attorneys, 2 folks that took their talents to D.C. and now deciding to bring their talents back here to the state, trying to be the top law enforcement officer with Jeff Jackson and Dan Bishop. That race is one to watch for sure.
Yeah, we're going to go out to Queen City News anchor Robin Kennedy live at the Jeff Jackson Watch Party in Raleigh. And Robin, what's the feeling like in the room there before the results start to pour in?
Yeah, Brian and Khalif, Jeff Jackson hoping to move from Charlotte here to Raleigh to be the state's next attorney general. We've been talking all night about some of his plans. If he's elected, he wants to fight fentanyl. He also wants to fight AI scams and protect seniors. But we want to talk now a little bit about his weaknesses. This is expected to be a close race between Jackson and Charlotte Attorney Dan Bishop, the Republican in the race. And one of the things that's kind of come up possibly with voters is on Jackson and potentially his weaknesses on immigration and enforcing immigration laws. He was asked about recent legislation in North Carolina that would require sheriffs, North Carolina sheriffs, to cooperate with ICE. And he was asked if he agreed with that. He said he thinks that sheriffs should have the option, but he didn't double down and say they should be required to cooperate with ICE. Another potential weakness for Jackson, he kind of made some of the younger voters a little mad back in the spring when he actually voted yes on what was seen as an attempt to ban TikTok. Jeff Jackson has more than 2 million followers on TikTok, and he saw it as potentially a national security issue, is how he explained it, with the Chinese company ByteDance owning TikTok, and he was afraid that another country would be potentially influencing, the government of another country be potentially influencing what Americans saw. So that's why he voted yes for what was seen as an attempt to ban TikTok in the U.S. So those are some of the potential weaknesses for Jeff Jackson. Again, going to be a close race, and Jackson even said it's going to be a close race, and we want to let you hear from him now if we have that sound from him earlier today.
We've known since the beginning it's probably going to come down to 1 point, and here on Election Day it feels like it's going to come down to 1 point. We're feeling good, but it's going to be really close.
All right, and we're going to be watching those results come in tonight here in Raleigh with the Jeff Jackson campaign. I'm live in Raleigh. Robin Kennedy, Queen City News.
All right, Robin. Yeah, certainly interesting because Jackson does appeal to the younger voter with the TikTok and the following.
2 million followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
That vote was definitely something that folks weren't expecting. But you're talking about national security. You got to mention that ensuring that we have a safe country. So that was a vote that he was split on, I guess, mentally, but he did the thing that he thought would protect our country.
Something to watch later on. All right, Robin, thanks. Of course, Queen City News anchor Derek Dellinger, he's live in Monroe where the Dan Bishop watch party is being held at the Hilltop Restaurant.
Derek, what's it looking like out there?
Yes, as far as the crowd here, it has started to pick up. This party has officially started in earnest. I'm going to get out of the way so you can actually see some of the crowd that is here. There's also a podium for Dan Bishop whenever he decides to make a speech, at least at any point tonight. We're told it will probably be at least 8 o'clock before he's here, and I think he's going to be watching the results pretty much as much as anybody else is. The thing about it is, though, is that his campaign spokesperson is acknowledging, at least at this point, that this is going to be an extremely close campaign. We made a point of reaching out to the spokesperson a little bit earlier and he said essentially you can flip a coin and it'll be as informative as any prediction we can give you right now. They're essentially letting the voters decide, and the votes are going to be what the votes are going to be. That is what we're getting so far from Dan Bishop's campaign, and we hope to hear from him a little bit later tonight, no matter what this decision is from the voters on whether or not he will be Attorney General. Robin was mentioning just a couple of moments ago about the weaknesses on Jeff Jackson. Those are perceived to be strengths for Bishop as far as his connections with law enforcement, his endorsements from law enforcement. That's another thing, as well as immigration. It's those are some of the subjects that he is touted as being strong on, or willing to be more stronger on, at least here in the state. It's just a matter of whether or not that's going to be making a difference in the polls tonight. Now, he is urging people to get out to vote as late as possible. If you're still in line at 7:30, you'll still be able to vote, and they're still hoping for that day of vote to take place and at least essentially help with everything out tonight. We hope to hear from Dan Bishop coming up just a little bit later on. Meantime, we're live in Monroe. Derek Dellinger, Queen City News.
Well, thanks, Derek. Both campaigns saying if you're in line, stay in line. They have to let you vote if you're there before 7:30. Both Robinson and Dan Bishop saying that. And that connection, Bishop's been pushing Robinson. I think Jeff Jackson's team has tried to make that connection.
Make that connection, too, with Robinson to Bishop and try to bring out some of that vote and see if that'll bring him down a little bit. Derek, thanks. We're going to check back in down at the Hilltop Restaurant. Hopefully got some good food there for you at the Hilltop Restaurant. They always do at that spot, I know. All right, Derek, thanks.
We're now going to turn it over to Queen City News anchor Jason Harper, who's tracking the impacts of the results in North Carolina.
Jason, they got 4 counties that we're watching right now, which really could have a major impact on who wins the White House. And this is really something to keep watching, because one of those is right here in our area, Mecklenburg County.
A lot of people have been watching Mecklenburg County for months, Khalif and Brian. I mean, look, you've got Vice President Harris, former President Trump. How many times have they been coming here? Just in the last 5 to 6 weeks, right? They know the importance of not only Mecklenburg County, but some of these others here behind us. There's 6 or 7 that really could swing blue or red for North Carolina. But we want to focus on 4 for now. And we could change that through the night. But of course, like you mentioned, Brian, we've got Mecklenburg County. We've got Wake County, which is, of course, the county seat. You've got Raleigh. You've got Guilford County, which we're going to look at the numbers here in just a second. But that's where you've got Greensboro and High Point. And then, of course, you've got New Hanover, which you might be thinking, well, that doesn't seem like a big population in New Hanover. That's where Wilmington is. We're going to show you why we're looking at that here in just a second. But when you go back to the last 2 presidential races, Mecklenburg County itself, okay, when you look at Trump, the numbers are going down from election to election. So Trump only had 32% of the vote in Mecklenburg County in 2016. He went down to 31% in 2020. So every time there's a presidential vote, he's losing votes in Mecklenburg County. Now, I want to take a look at Wake County. Of course, this is no surprise that most of it is blue. It's the same thing. Trump went down by 2 percentage points from 2016 to 2020. Guilford County, it has been blue the whole time, but from Clinton until Biden, the numbers are getting smaller for Republicans. Now, we do want to pull up this. Again, New Hanover County, that's where Wilmington is. Look at this. 2016, it went for Trump. 2020, look at the difference. So that's a big difference here, but this state is so important when you look at the history of how North Carolina has voted all the way back to 1976. There's only been 2 times that North Carolina has flipped blue, and that was with Jimmy Carter and then, of course, Obama in 2008. So a lot is riding on some of those counties that we talked about, and we're going to be watching through the night how not only those counties, but the percentages that Harris and Trump need to feel comfortable to maybe keep this red, or if it does flip blue for the first time since 2008, guys.
Yeah, very, very important. All 4 of these counties are going to be watching here. Yep. Jason, thanks. And remember, Queen City News is your local election headquarters. We'll be bringing you live, continuous coverage throughout the night on all the major races from the national to local level. And if you see this, scan this QR code right now. It'll take you to our website, qcnews.com, and you can also keep up with all the results there.
And we are live from Nicole Sidman's watch party in South Charlotte. It's set to begin within the hour. Coming up, why this race is one to watch and its potential impact on the North Carolina legislature. Caroline?
Taylor, the Queen City Republicans watch party is set to start in about 15 minutes. Coming up, I'll tell you the demographic they're focusing on tonight. Shakira?
I'm at the Magnolia Room where polls just closed in South Carolina with Norman and his supporters waiting to watch the South Carolina District 5 congressional race.
And you're watching Queen City News,
your local election headquarters.
We'll be right back.